Hey, old lady, you must be free, right? Take care of things for me. Confused by a sudden call from my son's wife, I was at a loss for words. What? What do you mean? I'm saying I'm giving you the opportunity to take care of your grandson while I'm on a trip abroad. I left him at your front door. Leaving a 1-year-old outside in sub-zero temperatures as low as 23 Fahrenheit, it's just unthinkable. What? But I'm abroad too. This reckless act by my daughter-in-law led to the worst possible outcome. I am Sandra, a 60-year-old housewife. I lived with my husband Bert, who is 5 years older than me. He's already retired and we were spending our days peacefully. We have a 35-year-old son named Anthony. He got a job at a famous company but took him time getting married. 2 years ago, he brought home Lindsay, 10 years younger than him, as his wife. My melancholy began with my son's marriage. I was surprised when I first met her, as she came to greet us for their marriage. She was a woman who couldn't speak politely, wearing heavy makeup and a miniskirt. Apparently, she worked at a bar Anthony frequently visited and didn't seem to know the meaning of restraint. I'm Anthony's mother. Welcome. I'm Lindsay. Nice to meet you. I prefer coffee over tea. I was so taken aback that I couldn't respond, but Anthony hurried to smooth things over when he saw my expression. Lindsay might look flashy, but she's kind and a good person. Please understand. I tried to convince myself that she must have a good personality since Anthony said so. Besides, she was already pregnant with Anthony's child, so I had no choice but to accept their marriage. And so, Lindsay, who was estranged from her parents, ended up just registering the marriage without any formal greetings. I haven't seen my parents in over 5 years, so it's fine. Don't worry about it. Everything about her was beyond my comprehension. But since she was the person Anthony loved, I tried to get along with her. Our son's home was a room in an apartment we owned, about 30 minutes from our house, and thus began their married life. One day, when they came to visit, Anthony spoke up. Lindsay is new to childbirth and childcare. It would be great if you could help, Mom. Oh, okay, sure. I couldn't refuse when my son asked. Lindsay, in front of Anthony, acted sweet and soft-spoken. Hey, Anthony, listen. I'm struggling with morning sickness, so your mom said she'd cook all our meals. Can you believe it? I was the one who was surprised. I never said any such thing. However, Anthony, smitten with his younger wife, just nodded along. You're my wife, so it's okay for her to rely on my parents. I'm often away for work, so if you have any trouble, feel free to ask my mom for help. I was speechless. I thought, at this rate, I can only worry about the future. When Anthony left the room, Lindsay turned to me, stuck out her tongue and said, So that's how it is. Take care of it, will you? You're free, aren't you? She was so cunning. Yet, unable to speak ill of my son's beloved wife, I tried my best to accommodate her. A year later, my grandson Max was born. He was a fair-skinned, loud-crying, healthy boy. I was thrilled at the birth of my first grandchild and adored Max. However, Lindsay made a blatantly disguised face while looking at her own child. I wish he had taken after me. Small eyes, round face, he's just like ugly Anthony. It's cruel to talk about your own child that way. He is so adorable. Lindsay, who got married at 23 and became pregnant soon after, seemed to lack maternal awareness. Even as childcare began, she prioritized going out, often leaving Max with us. Yet, she continued to order me around, calling me old lady, and in front of Anthony, she still played the sweet wife. My son, too indulgent with his wife, was still obvious to her true nature. Lindsay is young, but she's doing a great job with childcare without going out. Really? Is that so? My son, busy with long business trips and overtime, didn't seem to have much involvement in childcare. He was unaware that Lindsay was leaving Max with us to go out. I hesitated to tell Anthony the truth, not wanting to seem like a tattletale. Additionally, the apartment rent which my son had promised to pay had never been paid. It was unusual for the meticulous Anthony, but I thought it must be because they needed money for the child and refrained from asking for it. With each meeting with my son and his wife, my frustration grew. In hindsight, clarifying things at the time might have prevented the worst outcome. Then, one day, something terrible happened. That day was a celebration of my calendar milestone, and I was on a trip abroad with my husband. We were in Australia. The hotel service was excellent, and for the first time in a while, I could relax and forget the unpleasantness. At that time in the US, it was the depths of winter with snow falling and temperatures hitting 23 Fahrenheit, making the coldest day of the year, a stark contrast to the warm southern hemisphere. On the second day of our trip, early in the morning, I received a call from my son's wife, Lindsay. "Hey, you must be free today too, right? Take care of Max." She blurted out her usual brusque demands. "What? What do you mean?" "I'm saying you should take care of your grandson while I'm on my overseas trip. I left him at your front door because your door was locked." I was appalled by what Lindsay said. "How could you do that, leaving a 1-year-old baby outside in sub-zero temperatures of 23 Fahrenheit? Are you even a mother?" "Stop nagging. The baby is just in the way. Why don't you just let Max inside?" "But I'm abroad too." "What?" I could tell Lindsay gasped over the phone. "I thought you were home since the lights were on." "That's for security reasons. The lights are set to turn on automatically." "Really?" In fact, our home's entrance lights were set to turn on automatically from evening to morning. "Well, I can't do anything about it from overseas. You handle it." "Wait a minute." Despite the child's life being at risk, my daughter-in-law was nonchalant. Doesn't she care about her child? While I was still in shock, the call ended, and further attempts to reach her were unsuccessful. I hurriedly contacted my son, Anthony. At that time, Anthony was on a business trip, and it would take at least an hour for him to rush back. "Max will freeze if we wait that long." I immediately called my neighbors for help. However, a neighbor had already heard the baby crying and then called for help, and Max had been rushed to the hospital. My husband and I decided to cut our trip short and return home. While we were preparing to return, Anthony contacted us from the hospital. Max's body temperature had dropped dangerously low. On the plane home, I prayed for Max's safety and seized with anger. I can't believe she would do something like this. If I leave my precious grandson in Lynch's care, who knows what worse things might happen in the future. Upon arriving in the US, we rushed to the hospital and met with Anthony. He said that Max was alive but might have lasting physical disabilities. Max is only 1 year old. It would be too cruel for him to suffer like this. My heart felt like it was tearing apart. Even Anthony had a stern look on his face. "What on earth is Lindsay doing?" After I told Anthony everything, his face stiffened. I can't believe it. I truly thought she was doing her best with childcare. I'm sorry. If I hadn't spoken up sooner, Max might not have had to suffer like this. My bad. It's not your fault, Mom. It's my fault for not seeing Lindsay's true nature. She was just pretending to be nice in front of me. Sorry for the trouble. I felt sorry for my son, who looked down in sorrow. No matter how much we regret it now, it won't change the fact that Max suffered. All we can do now is hope that Max, sleeping with a pale face, will get better. The next day, my husband and I left Max in Anthony's care and returned home to check something. After speaking with my son, we investigated something and discovered a shocking truth. I will never forgive her. 10 days later, an oblivious Lindsay casually came to my house. Anthony is coming back from his business trip today, so I came to pick up Max. Stopped her from entering the room and slowly said, Max has passed away. What? For a moment she was stunned. Then her face turned bright red and she began to rage. Don't lie. A neighbor just called at me saying, your son is lucky to be alive, but you are the worst mother. It's only natural you were spoken to like that. It was neighbors who saved Max. As I remained calm, Lindsay's voice grew shriller. Enough of your nonsense. You must have spread rumors about me in the neighborhood, right? Max is alive, so give him back to me right now. I won't hand him over to you. What? Do you even understand what you're saying? If you say you won't return a child to his mother, I'll sue you. Lindsay glared at me, arms crossed. Her originally beautiful face, marred by her vile nature, looked as hideous as a demon. I see. So this is how you talked to my mom when I wasn't around. Anthony appeared from the back room, holding Max in his arms. Lindsay's eyes widened in shock. You? Why are you here? You were supposed to come back this afternoon, weren't you? In fact, thanks to the hospital's effort, Max had no after effects and had been discharged. He was now sleeping peacefully in Anthony's arms. Lindsay suddenly switched to playing the role of a frail woman. It's not what you think, darling. Your mother bullied me when you were away. Please help me. My kind mom would never do something like that. I won't be fooled anymore. It's true. She's a demon in disguise as a kind old lady, believe me. Lindsay, with tears in her eyes, tried to cling to her husband. I can't believe it. You've been spending the money I gave you however you liked. Then, Anthony brushed off his wife's approaching hand. Turns out, Lindsay had been taking the apartment rent money from Anthony, claiming she would give it to me, but instead, she used it for her leisure. Further investigations by Anthony revealed that not only the living expenses but also the savings he had accumulated since his bachelor days had all been spent. You must have been squandering it on your lover, right? Lindsay hit the nail on the head, began to splatter in a fit of rage, her face turning bright red. I did give the apartment money to your mother. It's her who is lying. I gave all of Anthony's savings to her too. And then? And about the child, it was your mother who forcibly took Max away and left him outside. She's the bad one. Not me. I did nothing wrong. Lindsay, desperate to save herself, kept piling up lies. We could only look at her with dismay. Enough. I know everything. I reprimanded her and showed her the footage from the security camera. Actually, after a previous burglary, we were cautious about security. When we were away, not only did we set the lights to turn on at the entrance, but we also installed a security camera with a recording feature. The footage from the day she left Max showed Lindsay making travel plans with her ex-boyfriend, who she was cheating with. It also captured her leaving Max outside. So, you deceived me and even went on a trip with your lover while risking our son's life. Was your fair trip enjoyable? Anthony, who is usually quiet and kind, spoke with a creased brow and wide eyes in a low voice, showing a demonic rage for the first time. Even Lindsay was scared by his expression and began to tremble. I'm sorry, it was just a bit of fun. I wasn't serious. I'll break up with him right away. It's too late. I can't trust you anymore, so I'm filing for divorce. I will take Max. I can't leave him with you. I don't want to lose this life. Please forgive me. Am I the only one you should be apologizing to? Lindsay, prompted by Anthony, turned to me and bowed deeply. Mother, I'm sorry for my rude behavior until now. I will change my heart and cherish Max. Please forgive me and persuade Anthony to forgive me too. To my surprise, Lindsay was actually using polite language in her plea for mercy. She had always called me an old lady and spoken rudely, looking down on me. There was no way I could forgive her. Max's life was in danger because of you. I can't forgive you for trying to pin all your crimes on me. Please stay away from our family forever. Even after I apologize. We coldly watched her back down in tears, but she probably would never realize that this was all her own doing. Later, we filed a police report with evidence of Lindsay's actions. As a result, she faced a thorough investigation. Anthony demanded compensation and child support from Lindsay, and even filed for damages against her former lover. Lindsay, abandoned by her lover and with a history of squandering money since her youth, had been disowned by her parents long ago. In the end, she resorted to borrowing money from unsavory sources to pay the compensation and led a miserable life working night job to make the payments. My son and grandson returned to live with us in our family home. My husband and I are now busy with the joys and challenges of helping raise Max. Although life is busier, watching Max grow up healthy and strong brings us joy every day. We plan to continue supporting our son and grandson.